I want to kind of come into this space a little bit and just have a conversation with you, with those that are watching, around the idea of leadership, because this is not new to you. This is something that you've been doing for a long time. Yet one of the things I've watched about your life is I feel like your life is a life of progression. We often say here that it's not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about taking small steps and getting better. And when I think about you, you're a leader who just constantly, continually gets better. Maybe just for all intents and purposes, for those that are watching so we can get on the same page, how do you define like leadership?
Sure.
It's kind of a bold, big question, but
I think influence is really leadership. It's a mistake to call leadership authority, because you can actually have much greater influence than your authority. Like, take that story in the book of Acts where Paul's on that ship as a prisoner.
Yeah.
He has no authority. He's a prisoner. But by the end of the story, he's in charge, telling people not to let the men leave in the ships, the little lifeboats, telling people when to eat, telling people when to pray, telling them when it's time to finally abandon ship. Yeah. And you're basically in charge. Why? Because he had something better than authority. He had influence.
Yeah.
He was a leader because he lived a life worth following. And I think sometimes we make the mistake of letting our authority determine our productivity. Wow. So I won't lead because I don't have the power to lead. And so I let the greatness inside of me, stay there. But what if Joseph would have done that? He was called to lead, and he had in his head what it would look like. My brothers bow down to me. I'm the man. That's actually how it ends. His brothers all bow down to him.
Yeah.
Pharaoh's saying, do whatever you want. Here's my signet ring. Here's my backup chariot. Pharaoh rode in, Air Force One or Air Horse One.
There you go.
Joseph rode in Air Horse Two. You know. So by the end, it all came true. But he didn't wait till his authority matched his dream.
Wow.
His dream of leadership could work in any context.
That's beautiful.
So in Potiphar's house, what's he doing? Working his butt off. Potiphar eventually says, I won't take care of anything but my menu.
Yeah.
In the prison, he didn't have to lead, but he did. He cleaned the cell. Eventually, the prison keeper put him in charge of the prison. Why? Because he never let his authority dictate how he would respond to life.
It's beautiful.
So I think leadership is much more powerful than how much you can boss people around.
Yeah.
It's the ability to live a life worth following and knowing what God put inside of you.
Well, I think it's beautiful. I love that little phrase you said, that's how it ends. Like, it ends with the dream, but that's not how it starts.
No.
And I think that is the journey of leadership. Leadership is about taking people oftentimes to a place that they never even knew existed.
Yep.
Sometimes they didn't even want to go there,
Yep.
but you use your influence to get to that end result. You've been pastoring for 11 years, as you said. Maybe talk about the early days for a moment, because we were talking with our team earlier. What do we want to talk to Levi about? And one of the things that people were like, we want to ask Levi about taking nothing to something. Because that's what you guys have done in Montana, and that's part of leadership, is using my influence. I've got nothing here, but I'm going to turn it into something. Sure. Can you just maybe give some of the early day stories of where you started? Because now what people say is like Levi Lusko, Fresh Life Church, 11 locations, all these states. It's not how you started.
Yeah, someone said one time, years of hardship, adversity, and grinding it out in obscurity, and you too can be an overnight success. It's like everyone wants to be overnight success. It's like, there's a recipe for it. It's just be faithful in the darkness, and eventually, God will shine a light. And I think for us, maybe there's more recognition today, but like you said, it's the long obedience in the same direction.
Yeah.
But for us, the early days, man, we started the church just with a vision and a dream to tell people in Montana about Jesus. We moved there. I did not know there was an ark. People today, I hear about what ARC will teach you and give you by way of systems and network and growth track and raise the money and interest meetings and startup parties and going in with everything already sorted out in your launch team. It's like, okay, we did it all wrong. We started the church the weekend after we arrived in the city. Literally, it was like we got there on like a Tuesday. It was like, hey, we're starting a church. Let's do it Sunday,
Yeah.
So we had this little space above a bar.
Like it just began.
Just literally like
we're here.
Yeah, let's
church
go.
Start, yeah.
So we walked around town. Like there was one of us, with us there that was going to be part of the launch crew, and we just started inviting people. Like, hey, come to Fresh Life. Like, what's Fresh Life? It's church. We're starting Sunday. Come. Like all together, it was 14 people on the first gathering. It's
crazy.
And so, but it was just like the faithfulness of, hey, we're going to open up Scripture.
Yeah.
We're going to worship, and we just had this vision. Henry Ford. He said, if I would have asked people what they wanted in what I was going to make for them, they would have asked for a faster horse. They didn't even see the potential for a car. And I think, in the early days as we were building Fresh Life, a lot of people would come and be like, this is a great idea. I know what you're doing. I've been to churches like this in other cities, but you don't know the area. It's not going to work here. It's been tried. It's not going to work here. And I think we just had to believe in the dream. And so, it was hard. I mean, our first year, I broke my femur, snapped it in half in a snowmobile wreck.
Oh my God.
We just from that moment on, I feel like there hasn't been a season of major blessing and opportunity of increase that hasn't been met by some sort of difficulty.
Wow.
And it's not just like there's the best of times, then there's the worst of times. The funniest thing is, and I'm sure you would say this out of your experience, oftentimes the most difficult times come in the midst of the greatest blessing.
This is good, yeah.
Almost like melancholy that you're experiencing even on the best Sunday. And I think that's one of the most surprising things about leadership to me is how hard it is when the dream goes well, and what sometimes those Mondays can look like, and just difficulty in the midst of blessing.